And now for something completely different. At home, I always use my home charger for convenience and cheap off-peak prices. When I'm working, I always find the nearest supercharger for speed. But on a recent trip to see family in Swansea, I took a very different approach. I did obviously check out the new supercharger, as I hadn't been there since it opened, and took some video and pictures, but I didn't charge there. Instead, as I only get to see my family there a handful of times a year, I decided to plan a day of activities during which family came first and charging a distant second. And the results were amazing. I lived briefly in Swansea about 20 years ago and always found it to be a really lively and active city. Central Square has a giant screen, and most weekends something is showing, like football or rugby. But much has changed since I lived there, so we picked up the family and headed down to the marina. Well, luckily, I have the 7-seater Model S, so there was plenty of room for the 6 of us, and particularly as our newest family member was just 7 weeks old. The Copper Bay multi-storey car park is right bang in the centre alongside the marina. It also has 5 EV-Link dual chargers accessed through the Clenergy EV app. These are 22 kilowatt Type 2 chargers, so you need your own cable, but the price was a really cheap 35 pence per kilowatt hour. Also note, as a family, we all had weak mobile signals, so the app was slow, but it did actually work. The advantage here is that while the car charges, I can leave it for as long as I choose, and there's plenty to do within just a few yards. Additional point for those disabled or less able drivers, there are 2 specially wide bays allowing for easy wheelchair access, and these are clearly marked. Well, stepping out of the car park, you're straight onto the quayside of the marina. Although the weather was not brilliant, it was really warm, and much of Swansea was also out enjoying the sights. It feels really quite continental, with shops, cafes and bars and plenty of seating. And we immediately heard music, so heading just a few yards away along the quay, we found an artistic company performing expressionism. Well, being in no hurry, we stopped and watched, and it was really nice not having to check my app all the time to see if it finished charging, and I would have to go and move it to avoid idle charges. But soon our hungry group was keen to eat, so we headed for the Pump House. This is a recently refurbished typical pub grub setting right on the quayside, with an outdoor dining area overlooking the yachts. The food's very good and reasonably priced. On leaving, we found the music was still playing, so again we stopped and watched until our youngest member was bored. Now, besides the usual shops and cafes, the rooftop level of the car park is a full-on activity centre for the kids. So a short stroll along the quay and a lift ride found us well above street level with great views of the city. Well, this is such a simple idea, but one ignored by most car parks. The traffic noise is barely noticeable. It's a fabulous area for family and kids, and we set off to explore. It's really well thought out. There's obviously a cafe, but someone has gone to a lot of trouble to design it specifically to be interesting and an adventure for the kids. Plenty of hands-on activities, including a water feature that gets the kids working and then calculating water routes with a series of mini dams and gates. All in all, including eating, we spent nearly 3 hours there and were never bored. There is so much else to see and do in Swansea, but this short experience really stood out. Well, let me know your experiences when and where you charge. Are you always in a hurry, sat in your car waiting for it to finish? Well, maybe chill out once in a while, just sit back and enjoy life. Well, thanks for watching. I'm Dave.